He soon learned he was basically meant to be a hybrid of chauffeur and babysitter. All sound, besides their footsteps, dropped away as they neared the P3 level. The elevator wouldn't take them lower than P1. It was broken, or perhaps they needed a key card this late in the evening. Though Behr wasn't an experienced bodyguard, even he could see that this should have been a two-man detail, minimum, had they been going by the book. One man to accompany the client to his meeting, and a driver to stay with the vehicle and pull up to a rear or side entrance of the building when it was done. 3 men, with a backup for the walk, would have been even better. But in the current economic climate, the book was out the window, and no one who earned his own money, even a guy like Kolodnik, was springing for multi-man teams unless there was a real reason. That was Behr's guess, anyway. So when Kolodnik had asked him to come inside, to wait while he took his meeting, and to help him carry some stuff out, Behr had done so. He'd parked the Suburban on a low floor in the visitor spaces because the garage had been full at that time, rode the elevator upstairs with Kolodnik, and waited outside the glass-walled conference room while a nearly 3-hour meeting took place between Kolodnik, a red-headed woman, and a pair of gray-haired men, all dressed in sober blue business suits. Now, Behr toted 2 banker's boxes full of files back to the vehicle. They turned the corner and reached the head of the row where the Suburban and a few other cars were parked, when Behr felt a blip on his mental radar. He transferred the boxes to one hand and was fishing in his pocket for the Suburban's key fob when it caught his eye. There was an aberration in the lighting pattern, a black gap like a missing tooth in the otherwise uniform yellow light grid of the garage. And then it was too late. The gunshots punched through the air in a broken chain of crackle and thunder. A stripe of rounds tore into a Toyota Camry near them as Behr dropped the banker's boxes and jammed Kolodnik to the ground beneath him. The air went out of Kolodnik upon impact. A breathless "fuck" was all Behr heard before more rounds whanged off the concrete behind them and started getting closer. Behr had never been fired upon by an automatic weapon before, and he instantly found he was not a fan. The buzzsaw sound scrambled his mind, and he felt the urge to make his 6.5 feet and 240 pounds as small as he possibly could, but that urge competed with the instinct to cover Kolodnik. He stayed over the businessman and scramble-crawled them toward the Suburban, shredding the knees of his suit pants as he went. He scanned the darkness for a target, but between bursts, the area the gunman fired from was pitch black. Another stripe of rounds ripped past them on the ground, and Behr was sure he was killed as he pressed the key fob. The Suburban unlocked with a chirping sound that joined the ringing in his ears. The fob tumbled from his hand and fell to the pavement as he reached up and jerked the door open between them and the shooter. There was little chance they'd be driving out anyway, as the shooter let off another burst. Dead, Behr thought, with just a piece of flimsy Detroit steel between him and what were undoubtedly full metal-jacketed .223 or 7.65 millimeter shells coming their way. The door shuddered with the impact, and Behr expected he and Kolodnik to be covered with shattered glass and worse. But there was merely spalling, and the window held. The door shook and absorbed the live rounds with a dull whump. Armored. The realization echoed in Behr's head, but getting the principal up and inside the vehicle would be more dangerous than leaving him down right now. "Oh, Jesus!" he heard Kolodnik grunt from behind him, and Behr realized this wasn't going to end on its own. "Return fire," Behr exhorted himself. His hand, slick with sweat, found the holstered Glock 22 .40 caliber that Caro required him to carry on his hip. He didn't generally favor the gun, the squared look and plastic feel of it, but he loved it at the moment. When firing in low light or no light conditions, the idea is to keep the shot